Wow.
I have very few words.
We're just a few days away from the most hotly anticipated chess match in living memory. Can you believe it? It's nearly upon us. We've got to look at how Magnus, son of Carl, got to this point. A semi-final on the cards against Hans Niemann. Well, this is his quarter-final against Arjun, a man with a pet Pokemon horsey. How can you overcome someone so overpowered at such a young age from India? Well, this is how. A game so incredible that the commentators are just left speechless. Magnus has made a career on this. He's got black here. It's online chess. Arjun goes d4. Clock time's on the left here. Magnus responding with d5, and check out this opening. The horses gallop forth. Bishop f4. Magnus, never one to turn his back on what the chess gods want, plays bishop f5, aligns the pieces, unleashes the chess titans. Absolute pandemonium in the studio. We get e3, e6, and the fun just continues. Because look at the copycat chess we get. Knight c3, a kind of Jabava London thing now, not going with the pawn triangle. Magnus just continues. Knight c6, complete symmetry on the board, server overloads. Luckily, Danny's on hand to fix it. What a man. Knight e5 now played. Thankfully, the symmetry's broken because Magnus doesn't hop forward with his knight, and also he doesn't take. You don't want to let white recapture. Fork these pieces. So Magnus drops back with his knight there, and how about this for aggression with the g-pawn? Gary the debt collector banging down the door. Magnus takes on d3. Phew, if he retreated, then this second one was rumbling. So the queen recaptures here, and now Magnus completely forgets which way his pieces are moving, stumbles backwards. Mum and dad ashamed. What are you two doing back here? Bishop g3 tucks back, and now Magnus takes on e5. Really weird looking move, but what do we know? All 8 pawns on the board. Closed position. These knights want to start hopping. That's the thing about closed positions. And after h5, excellent move. Trying to access f5, and there's no time for h3 to defend, or takes, and you lose a rook. Magnus starts turning up the heat, but Arjun fights back. He takes. Rook recaptures. Yes, this square's been given, but watch this. For a central thrust, e4, love it. Takes control of the square, and if you capture, this is a really nice move. You know, you can take or knight takes, but even stronger, queen e2. What a sneaky sausage. Hit that rook. Of course, you can't take here, not without losing an exchange, and when you retreat or go g6, something like that, Castle's queenside comes. What an initiative. Knight could be capturing. Very nice. So we come back. Magnus didn't capture. He plays pawn to c6 here, and he sets up the old party hat pawn formation. Excellent prop, by the way, if you find yourself at a kid's birthday party. Gives the impression that you're having a good time, even though you're forced to soberly make small talk with semi-randoms. Try it out at the next one you go to. Arjun now castles queenside here, and hang on. Surely Magnus can win a pawn. Well, no. You got the old tuck back again. Switcheroo, hitting the rook. It has to stay with the knight now, or the knight drops, and you can see the writing on the wall, right? You're running out of squares. That's a fork. You're forced to give an exchange. No good. So pawn immune. Instead, Magnus plays a6. Given the question mark, g6 preferred, but Magnus is on a side quest here, because after Arjun goes f4, setting up a big bishop seesaw. Yes, it's a bad bishop, but it defends a good pawn chain. Magnus now plays pawn g6. He puts all his pawns on the light squares, unlocks a cinema voucher for 2 with Hans Niemann. Rumour has it they want to catch the new alien when they're together in Paris in just a week's time. And now in response, we get king to b1. Always play it, keep Ben Feingold happy, and now these are some of the top queen moves of stock mollusk. Activate it. But it gives this one the question mark because it's not quite preferred. But we kind of have to ignore that one. Now Arjun also makes a mistake. Tucking back the bishop to the more pertinent diagonal is best, but he takes on d5. Magnus should now recapture with the c pawn, but he doesn't do it. He instead gets a bit fancy, but it's a mistake. He plays knight to c5, hits the queen. Look at the bar rise here. The Silicon Overlord not a fan, but only if you find one continuation. It was missed. It's really not easy. It's tactical stuff. Very well done if the move occurred to you. It's the simple queen d2, but here's the follow-up point. When you recapture this pawn, however you want to take, let's say like this, maybe bring a knight here in future. Now can you see the follow-up tactic? It is a common idea. It's knight takes on d5. You very often see this theme occurring at times when there's a loose queen on a5 and no takes on d2 with check. This is the key. Pawn recaptures, queen drops. If you take here, then you've got the Zwischenzug or intermezzo check. King goes, you win back your queen, you're a pawn up and dominating positionally. This is what Arjun missed. This is what he should have played. But he blitzes out in a second, queen d4, and now how about this? It's time for the Magnus magic. This is why they call him the Mozart of chess. Look at White's position. Rook's connected, king safe, queen centralized. Black still has to win the pawn back. Looks fine. But knight f5 comes, the queen's under fire. Arjun does find the absolute best move in response, b4, going after Magnus's queen. So we see takes here, and it looks terminal for black. The knight is under attack. When you move it, let's say to f5, well then white wins a pawn, right? Take where you will, let's say here, knight recaptures, do a pawn count, and white is a pawn up. Not the greatest of pawns, but pawn up. The knight's coming to e4 maybe, that kind of thing. Although this is a good one on f5. But okay, we didn't see this knight go to f5. It came to b5. This is what Magnus had foreseen in his calculations, and you don't have time now to win a pawn, of course, or black takes on c3 with check and everything. So of course we take on b5, right? This is what Arjun played, top move. But now Magnus goes a recaptures, opening up his rook on the a pawn, which never even moved from its starting square. Arjun takes here, pawn recaptures, and Magnus is suddenly flowing into the game. We're going to see why. Bishop e1 is best to cover the pawn, but then there's knight b7. You can force back the win of it. These ones start rumbling, just a different game. But what we see in the game is a blunder, and it's almost like Arjun just got tricked, and this was then the icing on the cake. He goes wrong, he missed a move, now he compounds it, goes after the pawn, looks so natural, but he's missed knight e4. Magnus goes to fork Vegas, and if you now take this pawn here, well we take here, and you can't recapture, you lose a rook. This is of course awful. So Arjun's got to meekly return, cover his bishop. Magnus takes anyway. Now the rook's got to recapture, of course, and after rook takes here, the smoke cleared. What do we notice? Magnus only has the 2 pawn islands, Arjun has 4, and trying to defend them is awkward, almost as awkward as this COVID handshake. Are we fist bumping? Are we shaking hands? Coming, going? No one knows. It's like trying to give your in-laws a hug, but they go in with the handshake. Someone gets crotch punched. It's very awkward. Now we see rook c3 going after this c6 pawn. Does Magnus defend it timidly? No, he's not a mouse. He's a lion. Goes after f4. We see an exchange of prisoners here. And what about that for an iron cross on f4? Love an activated rook. That's what you want. Free flowing space. Defending the backwards f7 point. And this is the problem. Arjun goes here. Defending, attacking. Magnus now crunches these 2 pawns, locking them down down with just one pawn, and yes, Arjun tries to activate, ditches this one. Magnus steps, the computer preferred this, but fine, Stock Barnacle sees all. We see an invasion, rook taking here, but here's the point. Yes, you can double, but you're not getting kebabbed because this is a monster defensive and attacking piece. So that's why check. Arjun here goes for the back rank instead. Now he's looking for some tricks there. Magnus also has a loose rook, but he takes care of it with rook e2. And the really cool thing is that if you try and trap the king in, go for a checkmating thing, you're just not quite in time. Then Magnus has time to run away. This is the thing. This is why Arjun checks, but he's just driving the king out, flushing it out like poop from the Seine in readiness for the Olympics. It hits g5, rook c5, covers this pawn here, and it's around this moment that the commentators are just speechless.
So this is the correct approach, and you now can play king h6 because there's no longer a skewer. Oh, make it look easy. Wow.
I have very few words.
How does Magnus constantly just turn the tide, stay a step ahead? It's incredible beauty, exquisite technique. Here comes the endgame masterclass. Arjun thrashing, trying to run his c-pawn here, but Magnus just calmly rolling that g-pawn down the board. What to do? Hits g3, hits g2, Arjun resigns the game. Sure, you can chuck in a check, but the king comes forward. You're going to shepherd it home, check, fine, whatever. You can block, nothing you can do. Say you try and do this, well, at the end of the day, you're always blocking, you're always coming through. This one's being made. Nothing to say, nothing to be done. This the final position, this the final score of the match. It sets up the semi-final we're salivating over. Smash subscribe if you never want to miss some coverage of that one, and I hope to see you again soon. Plus, check out the video on screen for an epic game by Magnus Carlsen. Thanks a lot.